We're into week number 4, and it's time for our City of Waupaca community update with City Administrator Aaron Jensen and School Superintendent Ron Sari. Welcome, guys, and thanks for making time again this week.
Thank you, Josh.
You're welcome, Josh. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. And as I said, we're into kind of week 4 of going through this, and people have been adjusting. Things have been done differently. And I talked to the police chief earlier today to find out some things from their perspective. And it just seems in general, our community is really pulling through on this and doing a nice job, whether it's kind of following along with the safer at home orders or just different things going on. And Aaron, I know you want to speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. In all of our community conversations, we're always trying to prepare for the next thing, and we're trying to figure out what we're not doing right, or what we need to do better. And I think it's just important to reflect on how much got done in really a 1-week span in March. I mean, we have students that are now learning virtually, even though school buildings are closed. We have businesses who have switched to all remote work and things that they may not have been set up with. We have grocery stores and essential services that are being provided that they're doing things differently. They've changed their mechanics within their stores to keep people safe. And all of this stuff happened within like 3 or 4 days. And I think it's important to recognize how impressive that really is and how much work everyone in the community has put into making sure we can get through this thing together. And I know we as a city just want to say thank you to all those who are continuing to serve us. And obviously one I didn't mention, but one that deserves huge credit is our healthcare workers and all the stuff that they're doing through this time. And, obviously we want to do everything we can to support them, and we thank them. So that's definitely a message I wanted to get out today.
And Ron, on the school side, when you think of all the students you have and all the teachers and all the other staff at the school, why don't you speak on your side, what's been going on?
Well, a lot of the same thing, Josh. We want to thank our students and parents for the continued work that they're doing. The parents are really focusing on helping their students get their work done. And we just greatly appreciate that. And we're hearing a lot of positive feedback from the parents in the community in regards to that at this point, and some constructive feedback that we're able to make some adjustments as well. We also want to continue to give thanks to our first responders, which would be our teachers and our aides and custodians and maintenance crew, food service, and the bus drivers from Go Right Way. They're doing a lot of work at this time behind the scenes. People may not see them. I know some of the parents, when they're picking up food, may see the food service, but they're doing a tremendous job, and we're very proud of them.
And moving ahead, just a lot of good stuff in the community. It does feel like everyone's adjusting the best they can to this, and we're making it work and moving ahead, and that's good to hear. So changing gears a little bit, Aaron, I know you want to speak a little bit on some information and some stats you've heard from the Public Health Department and what is going on with this.
Yeah, so our community partners have been meeting, and when I say community partners, really it's our emergency personnel, our emergency services, Chief Ozell, Chief Duman in the fire department, myself, Mayor Smith, actually a nurse from the school district. We have Theta Care, Bethany Home, Veterans Home, healthcare services included in on meetings 3 times per week. So we're meeting Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And in addition to all those I mentioned, we have the public health officer, Jed Wolt, who's been great, and also Andy Carlin from emergency management from the county. And we just, right before this meeting, we got some new updates and some trends that are positive, and it suggests some things that suggests we're doing some things right, which is exciting. We have a long way to go, but it's always good to have good news during this time. The first couple things I'm going to say, we have up to date 142 negative COVID-19 tests within our county. We have the 2 positive that people know about, and then of course that a very unfortunate 1 death. So that's where we sit right now within the county of Waupaca. Some of the trends I heard this morning, going back to April 1st. So April 1st, we had 190 new cases in the state of Wisconsin. April 2nd, we had 180. The next day we had 186, 196, 155 on April 5th, 173 on April 6th, and 138 on April 7th. So, you hear probably a lot in the national news about what's happening in New York, and are they hitting their peak, and are they starting to flatten out and maybe head the right direction? Some of these numbers over the last week suggest that we might be flattening out in the state of Wisconsin. Now, what does that mean? It means that things are working to some extent, right? So that's a plus, and we got to keep doing what we're doing. And we'll remind everyone of that at the end of this. It doesn't mean that it's going to be over quickly, unfortunately. I don't think. We don't know that, but I wouldn't suggest that. And I think the other thing that will be interesting to see, and we'll get into elections, but I think we're going to keep a close eye in the next couple of weeks and see, did elections have any, what kind of impact may that have on state trends in the next couple of weeks? So all in all, I thought that was very positive news out of the county health department, and definitely thank Jed for communicating all of that. So.
And you brought up elections. We had our election day this Tuesday, and that was kind of a yo-yo. Was the election going to happen? Was it going to be delayed? That went back and forth quite a bit, the hours leading up to it. And when the final announcement came out that the election was still going to take place, if you watch social media, there were just a ton of concerns about voting in person. And I'll let you talk about that and what's next. But I think one of the neat things worth highlighting is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the city had a record number of absentee ballots cast before the 7th.
We did. I put together a report on Friday, and we were anticipating over 1,100. My report made me a liar. We were at 1,099 absentee ballots, so I was one over, which is a record number for us, which was awesome. It means people were concerned about it. They contributed to having smaller crowds come election day. I think we were only at around 400 voters that came in person in the city yesterday. But again, those high absentee ballots meant we still had a decent number of voters take part in the election. We had our staff and our crews did a great job at making sure that the setup provided a safe space, at least as safe as possible, for the voters to come out and vote. There was distancing markers on the floor. There were plexiglass shields that were made by someone in our street department that protected our poll workers, which was fantastic. Did that over a weekend, which was awesome. It was all in all, it went as well as we could have hoped, Josh. The people we have to really give credit to is our clerks, our deputy clerks, our chief inspectors, who were on a roller coaster over the past couple weeks, and especially over the past 24 hours or 48 hours. So they did I know here in Waupaca, in the city of Waupaca, they did an excellent job. And I guess I probably want to thank clerks and chief inspectors everywhere in the state, because that was, I'm sure, an interesting time.
And we were speaking some stats with the election, and Ron, I know you've got some stats with food service and busing. Your food service staff has been busy. Your busing staff has been busy delivering meals, delivering homework packets. Tell us a little bit about some of those stats and what's been going on with the school.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. It's really interesting, the food service data, when we look back at it, because we're collecting how many students are picking up or getting lunches and breakfast picked up at WLC, at the high school, and then the ones that are being delivered to homes as well. So on March 23rd, we had 70 deliveries. And then when you look at, that was the first day that we offered food, was March 23rd. And on April 7th, which was yesterday, we had 138 deliveries. So they've doubled over that 12-day period of time, which we found is interesting. And they've grown in every spot. From picking up at the WLC, we went from 62 students to 81 students getting meals as of yesterday. At the high school, 63 students on the first day received their meals, and as of yesterday, there were 96. So we're talking, we grew from 195 total students being fed on March 23rd to 315 students on yesterday, April 7th. And the total meals, this is interesting. March 23rd, total meals, so we're talking lunch and breakfast, 390 on March 23rd. And yesterday, we had 630 meals. That's in one day. So we had 630 meals given out yesterday. So when you talk about that 12-day period of time from the 23rd of March through yesterday, April 7th, it's 6,040 meals that our food service people have handed out or it was delivered. The total deliveries that go Right Way, which is our transportation contractor, but they're kind of like family because most, if not all, of the employees are former Waupaca School District employees, and so we're proud of the work that they do as well. And they've delivered 2,760 lunches over these past.
Wow.
Talking to Lee Nowicki, who's the manager of the bus garage, he said that they've got 4 vehicles. They go 8 miles. There's long driveways. There's dogs chasing the drivers, and there's 2 drivers on each in each vehicle. But they also did something significant the last couple of days, and that's delivering learning packets to all of our 4K through 2nd grade students. And as you know, they're not doing the virtual learning, and they're doing instead the learning packets. And it was time to get new learning packets, and the drivers delivered them to the houses. So they're doing a great job, and we're very proud of them.
So we've talked a little bit about some possible encouraging news on the health side, the elections, all the work the school and the food service and transportation workers are doing to maintain kind of, I don't know if I want to use the word normal, but kind of normal-ish day-to-day operations. And there's also maybe some not so much good news with everything going on with the economy and businesses. And Aaron, I know you've been talking with the chamber. They've been putting together some resources and have information on different programs to help businesses.
Yeah, Terry Schultz at our Waupaca Area Chamber of Commerce they've enthusiastically agreed to put together a website as a resource and just compile all the information. I know for a week or two there, it was kind of overwhelming to see what is the information coming in, what are those aid packages, what's the details of them, and they've done some work to put that all on one site and link them to the appropriate places. I know one thing that a lot of business owners are talking about right now is that Paycheck Protection Program that's done by the SBA. I would encourage anyone to either go to sba.gov to check that out if you haven't already applied, and I would encourage them to do that very, very soon, because it is a first come, first served basis. When that money runs out, which no one knows when that's going to be, that opportunity may no longer be there. And what those are loans that have a chance to be 100% forgiven for 8 weeks of qualified loan uses like payroll, mortgage interest, rent, and utilities. Another place besides sba.gov to go is our local bankers. I've already heard from some small business owners in the city that have been dealing with our local bankers that have said they've been very, very helpful in guiding them through the application process. Actually Josh, I wanted to talk to you about this, but I ran into one of our small business owners yesterday at elections, and I would like to have maybe that individual come on later this week and have him talk about his experience in going through that application process. So just encouraging everyone any small business owner, if you haven't already, try to do that as fast as possible, as I think it's a pretty good opportunity right now.
And I know another topic you want to touch on, Aaron, is DataCare has made some changes to who should be going into the hospital or into the clinics here in Waupaca. I know that was something you learned about in one of the community preparedness calls that you want to help get that information out for them. Yeah.
So DataCare shared with us, this is actually at the end of last week, that if you come in to the hospital, it might look a little different. Let's say, Josh, let's say you were going with your brother and you were healthy and your brother was sick or needed treatment on something. Maybe it's not COVID-19, but you actually, Josh, would not be allowed into the hospital if you're healthy. They're trying to minimize the amount of traffic in the hospital. Anyone who doesn't need care will have to wait in the car. So don't be surprised, anyone who's listening, if that's what happens if you go in with a brother or a friend or whatever it might be. The exceptions are if you are their caregiver or if you're obviously their legal guardian. So a parent can go in with a child, things like that. But anyone that's not needed to join will be asked to sit in the car and kind of wait for that appointment or that treatment to be done.
So there's certainly been a lot going on with the coronavirus situation and everything we've been doing locally. And I want to kind of close out today's interview with a couple different things. And Ron, you've been doing weekly communications with your students and your staff and the community, and I know you want to touch on that and how that's going.
Well, the last couple of weeks, we changed it up from just a memo or a letter to video messages, and we just haven't really had a lot of feedback on it, and we just hope that they were viewed from a positive approach. I know it's a team effort that we have going on at our school district, and we have a great team, and everybody is collaborating and coming to the table with open mind and listening to everybody's input. So hopefully our outcomes are viewed positively.
And Aaron, on your side, I know you want to, as we close out the segment, what can people do? And you want people to do their part. And there's also donations being sought after of some PPE. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so doing your part in this instance means a couple different things for us. If you do have some personal protective equipment, just a reminder that we're still accepting donations for our healthcare providers here at City Hall. There's a doorbell that can be rung. I think, and there's somebody, or Russ installed a wireless doorbell that can be rung on the library parking lot side. And we will come and grab that personal protective equipment and get it where it needs to go. And then the other thing is we just want to make sure everyone continues to do their part. We talked about the positive trends that we're seeing, or we're hearing from a state level and new cases, and that's all great. In no way, shape, or form are we suggesting to stop doing what the CDC and what the state is recommending. I'm not going to rehash all those things because I think everybody at this point knows exactly what that stuff is, but just make sure you are continuing to follow all of those guidelines, because it's not just about you, it's not just about the people that's under your roof, but it's about anyone you might come in contact with. And I think if we look at it that way, we all want to get through this period as fast as possible, whether you're a small business, whether you are a large business, whether you work for whoever. If you're a resident, I think everyone will welcome normalcy. And we will get to that faster if everyone abides by these orders that are in place. So we just want to make sure that we're communicating that.
Nowadays it's thinking about every action you take. So if you decide to leave home and go to the store, is it really necessary to go now, or should I limit that to once a week? It's just every little thing we do makes a little difference, and just thinking everything through to be smart about it. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Ron, Aaron, I appreciate your time this week to get this community update together that we can share with the residents of the Waupaca area. And it sounds encouraging at this point. A lot of good news on today's call. Everyone working together, what the community is doing, some of that public health data, and hopefully, as we continue to communicate each week, that information maintains positivity.
Sounds good, Josh. As always, thanks for having us on, and we'll talk to you next week, if not before.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.